Welcome to the first ever episode of Neighborhood Icons. In this episode, we head downtown Pueblo, Colorado to meet with the owner of Fuel and Iron Food Hall, Nathan Starn. It has 6 kitchens, a bar, housing units, and the best trivia in the planet. We discuss his inspiration for Fuel and Iron, the come up, and how he plans to help food entrepreneurs break into the restaurant business, and it's all going down right now. Let's go. Glad that you let me do this, man.
Thank you for having me.
For sure.
It's going to be fun.
The first ever podcast episode of this episode. You know, I've done a lot of podcasts, but I've never did it myself, for myself. And I'm just happy that this is going to be the first one.
Yeah, it's exciting.
We've been hanging out doing trivia here at Fuel and Iron. They do trivia every Wednesday. Gotta check it out. And we're 3-time champions now. Right?
Oh, I think so. I think that's right. Thanks for keeping the stats.
Yeah. Oh, I keep track.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm pointing everyone out.
Yeah.
You lose again, you know.
I like it.
So what's been new at the Fuel and Iron? I know you guys got the music festival coming on. Tell me about that a little bit.
Totally. Well, I think the biggest thing is we opened last April, and I think with any new business, when you open, it's a scramble, just trying to figure everything out. And this is my first time ever running a food and beverage business for an extended period of time. And luckily we have an incredible team, but it's just such a steep learning curve. And so it felt like we were always a little bit behind the 8 ball the first year, like through all of last year, trying to just play catch up. And so we really were trying to be more intentional this year and figure out what we want to do in terms of events. So we brought on a director of marketing and events, Danella Beta-Maestas, and that's been amazing.
Nice.
That's really helped us be a lot more strategic and creative and really plan out the year. And as you said, we're about to have our first signature event of the year called the Steel City Music Showcase. And part of what we want to do at the food hall is to not keep everything within our 4 walls, because there are a bunch of amazing businesses along Union Avenue, a bunch of incredible spaces. And our hope is that eventually we're doing enough cool programming on Union with these great businesses that when somebody's thinking, where do I go out for the weekend? They just think of Union, they think about coming downtown, and that should hopefully benefit everybody. Right. So for Steel City Music Showcase, we're modeling it after the Underground Music Showcase in Denver. Okay. So and they've been around 20 years. 150.
You're a big fan of that?
Huge fan. And just shamelessly taking the model because I love it so much. But it's a model that I think works everywhere. And that festival is on Broadway in Denver, which is an incredible street. It's not Union Avenue. It's just a very different feel. So I think even the exact same format in a different location will have a very different feeling festival. And we're really fortunate that we have Bella Union Plaza that opened, and it's just a perfect main stage environment, outdoor.
Which one is that one?
So that's the food truck park. It's, just up the block between B and C on Union. And they have the shade sails, they have the turf, they have a stage. We're also really lucky to be working with, we have a great sound designer, and we also are working with CSU, the College of Media and Entertainment, and they have a lot of equipment, and they're providing us an in-kind sponsorship. So they're taking the existing stages where they exist and just creating them where they don't exist. So the sound experience, the audio performance is going to be fantastic. And we have a talent buyer, Future Garden. They did the talent buying for the Underground Music Showcase for 5 or 6 years, so they really know like how to plan it, who to recruit, how everyone lines up. So we have 35 bands in our inaugural festival. Here where we are in the loading dock gallery at Fuel and Iron, we're going to have a stage. I think you might be able to see where the stage is going to be behind us here.
All right.
The Bella Union Plaza is going to be our main stage. The Gold Dust Saloon, their back patio, is going to be a stage. And then Sacred Bean is going to be the singer-songwriter stage. Nice. And we're just like, not only are these great businesses, but they're very supportive, involved business owners. And that's just really critical, because we couldn't have done this if the business owners weren't there and present and working with us to produce a great event. And so we're hoping that we can have this be a great foundation the first year. Everyone has a great experience. And there's no reason down the road that this couldn't go from the food hall all the way up to 4th Street or maybe into Mesa Junction, because there's some great spots there.
Just put a stage right in the middle of the intersection over there.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways it could grow. Yeah, I mean, outdoor stages, different venues. We could do, Pueblo has the common consumption, the entertainment district, that's been passed, but there hasn't been one established. We could look at establishing an entertainment district. We could add a day. We could go earlier. There's so many ways to grow it. We're hopefully starting in a really manageable place, so we can make sure to deliver a great experience that makes people want to come back the next year. That's the most important component, but there's no limit to where the festival could go year over year. And so just being, that's been one of the coolest things for me, is like, I'm totally unqualified to plan a music festival. There's nothing in my background that would suggest that would be something that I could do.
Music fan is great.
Music fan, I love the event, but like, nobody would hire me to plan a music festival. It's just, through the privilege of having this space and having one of the venues and having a great team that we can look to do these type of events and just kind of go in way over our depths, but surround ourselves with great people and learn and grow. And I think we'll see the results of that. And it's crazy that it's less than 3 weeks away now.
Yeah. So tell me, you said that this is actually the first time actually running a food and beverage business. So you're coming up on your first year, and now you're also running your first ever music festival with multiple stages and like over 20 artists. That's
yeah. I think I've gotten very comfortable with knowing that I don't know. Yeah. I think there's a formula. It's like, okay, you don't know something. Right. There's no substitute for experience and just jumping in to be able to learn something. You could read as many books on it as you want, but I think there's no substitute for just
getting in there.
Just getting in there, yeah. But you have to surround yourself with great people. We have an unbelievable general manager here. If we didn't have Sarah, like, this place would fall apart. Just having myself, trying to be the day-to-day person operating without having done it before, that would be a total disaster. So I think it's just having the humility to know, okay, I'm coming into something new. I'm excited. I'm going to learn. I'm going to get better. I'm going to grow. Maybe in a certain amount of time, I could go into a place and be the general manager because of what I've learned, but that's definitely not the case. Now. I can't make a drink behind the bar. And we also, like, our team is awesome from top to bottom. The busing team, the dishwashing team. We've just been so fortunate with the people.
Let the professionals do their work, right?
Exactly. Like, you don't want me doing their job, and in a lot of cases I couldn't do their jobs, and so just really trusting them and working as a team to get better. That's been really cool. And so approaching a music festival, or we're doing one in June called the SoCo Art Ride that hopefully will become a full-on art festival in future years. Same thing, where I have no idea what to do with an art festival. I just think Pueblo as a great arts community, something would be really successful here. So it's like, okay, how do we surround ourselves with the good people who know what they're doing, who can really execute great events or a great experience for our guests, and just putting them in the position to succeed. And I don't think I'm great at that yet. I think I'm getting better, but it's definitely my goal.
Which part do you feel like you're getting better at?
Well, I think I'm getting better at like the trust part.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like can you, like, what's the balance between, it's like that, like, trust but verify type of thing where like wanna give our team the trust to be able to deliver, to create a cocktail menu, to come up with events, to do all these things, but also make sure that they know that I'm here to support them, Sarah's here to support them as well. And so that's a tough balance, and I feel like it's an art, not a science. It's something you have to work on every day. Is like, how do you empower your team, but not not just say, like, all right, you're on your own, even not be absentee. Exactly. Where's that line?
That is tough, because I think as, like, different entrepreneurs, business owners that I've met, you see all kinds of different management styles. Like, some people are super involved, and sometimes that makes the team cranky. And then there's other people that are just non-existent, which then you have free reign on everybody. And it's true, having that kind of fine line in the middle is that sweet spot, I guess, where everyone feels like, oh, I'm contributing to the business, I'm part of this, and Nathan trusts me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
yeah.
So that must be kind of kind of nerve-wracking to open such a ambitious business in Phil and Iron as your first ever food and beverage. What kind of gave you that confidence of like, no, I could do that. Like I got this. Like,
I think being naive a lot of times just gives you confidence, because going in we had no idea how hard it was going to be to get the building open, how hard it was going to be to operate, how hard it still is. But eventually, you just there's no turning back. I mean, you have to keep going. And we were very confident in the idea of a food hall, and that the idea that a food hall can work in every community, because our background, and when I say I have a partner, his name is Zach. Our background is working in commercial real estate, and we were representing restaurants. We were doing brokerage representing restaurants in the Denver area.
So like finding locations for them and helping them purchase their restaurant or bar?
Exactly. Yeah, and it's funny. It's like if you look at the brokers that are out there in the world, like something like 90% of the brokers will go residential. So it's like, 10% go commercial, and then within commercial, you've got some people who specialize in office or industrial or investment sales or multifamily or land, and we're kind of within like the retail subset. So that's maybe, a tenth of all commercial brokers. And then within, people who focus on retail, maybe, who knows, a third of those brokers focus on restaurants. And then we really tried, even among that small group, we really tried to make our focus representing independent restaurants. Being on the tenant side, because some people are on the landlord side, we really tried to focus on being on the tenant side and representing independent restaurants and not big chain restaurants. There's benefits to everything, but we really just love the chefs and their personalities and their vision and their dreams and what impact that chefs make on neighborhoods. And so helping them find a location was very exciting for us. And we started working with at one point we were working with 4 out of the 7 chefs at a food hall called Avanti in Denver. And we just became big believers that the chefs were much better off having been in the food hall rather than trying to take their concept from just an idea working for somebody else to a standalone brick and mortar. It was easier for them to get investors, lenders, to sign a lease with the landlord. They had a team, they had a concept, and a lot of the chefs that we worked with at Avanti have been incredibly successful when they've opened their own brick and mortars. And we thought at the time, and still today, there weren't very many incubator food halls within Colorado. And so we said, all right, we don't want to open in central Denver or Boulder because Avanti's there, and we want to find a different community up and down the Front Range. And we looked at a bunch of different locations, and we found the Holmes Hardware building. It was listed on Pedco's website, and we found out that it was available. And that was a long process, but it really checked all the boxes that we were looking for. And so that was, so we had, getting back to your actual question, but we just we had a confidence that a food hall was needed, and we really had a confidence that this building would be great for a food hall and just have such a unique character that it would really attract people. Once they found out about it, it would really attract people, because you could go to a lot of food halls, but it's rare to find one in a building like this with the history that this one has. And so just between being naive and being very confident in the business model, that was really what kind of pushed us forward.
So is this your first entrepreneurial kind of journey, or have you done other things before this? I know you were talking about the brokerage. Was that yours, or were you working for someone else? Or
I was working for somebody else. And I had some like food and beverage ventures on a smaller scale, but they were very short-lived, or like a lot smaller. So they didn't really have too much. I mean, it's all a learning process, but it felt like
that's the fun stuff right there.
So we ran a coffee truck, and the we here is myself and a friend from high school. His name is Chris. Chris and I ran a coffee truck in Denver for 4 years. Like in college, well, I was in grad school. He was in undergrad. Okay. And we licensed Solar Roast branding. So it was Solar Roast on the road.
In Denver?
In Denver. So separate business, separate city. But we were carrying the flag for Pueblo and carrying the flag for Solar Roast, which was really fun because they're such a great brand and such great people. And so we did that for 4 years, and then very briefly expanded that into a coffee shop. And then I had to make a choice between, do I want to try to keep going on this path, or do I want to become a real estate broker, because they both needed full-time attention to be successful. I mean, that was one thing that one big lesson is, just you've got to either, be there all the time or have really good structures. But building the structures takes time too. And so at that point, the coffee shop wasn't doing well, and it's like, okay, we could either sell it or like be there every single day, growing it, trying to get it on the right footing, or sell it and focus on becoming a broker, and decided to focus on becoming a broker.
I'm sure right there in that moment, you're making pretty good money as a broker and not as much good money doing coffee, right?
Yeah, and even then, like I wasn't making good money yet as a broker because I was just getting started, but I wasn't losing money as a broker. The coffee shop was losing money, so it was above zero at least, which is nice.
That's I feel like that's like that's that tough like jump for most people like that want to start something entrepreneurial. It's like, well, I got the the safety net of my job or whatever, but I would really love to do this, whatever it is. And taking that leap, I guess you did the same thing when you came here and did Fuel and Iron, because then again you were back at the same spot, right? You were at the brokerage, and then you're like, I want to start Fuel and Iron Food Hall, right?
Totally. Well, and I just say two things about that. The first of which is the timing that when we put this building under contract, it was March 3rd of 2020. And then 10 days later, every restaurant in Colorado was shut down. Yeah, a couple weeks later. Nothing. So it was easy at that time to make the choice to pursue this project because there was no brokerage business. We had no idea where the world was going. Zach could handle all of our client work, which at that point was just working through leases and figuring out like what is a force majeure clause, like can our clients get any rent relief because of COVID, and just navigating that. But that wasn't, Zach could handle that by himself. And meanwhile, we had this project that we were working on that felt like, okay, at least there's some forward momentum with this that I could take on. So that was nice. And so it didn't feel like as much of a choice at the time because there was no brokerage business.
Right.
And then it was just kind of like inertia, like, oh, this is getting harder and harder. Like I really need to keep focusing on it. And so Zach, it was right then and there basically that Zach became our director of brokerage, and then I became director of development. And subsequently, we ended up going off on our own in brokerage in 2022. So now Zach runs Fuel and Iron Realty on the brokerage side, and then I'm focusing on Fuel and Iron development, focusing on the development side. And I also just want to say that Zach has been making brokerage commissions that have been floating me this whole time because we're 50-50 on everything.
Wow.
And so if that weren't the case, there would be no way that I could have done this because we haven't been able to pull out any money from this project. I mean, we're expecting to be profitable here fairly soon, but we started off gangbusters at the food hall when we first opened, and then things dipped down, and then it took some time to get stabilized. And so even now we're not yet profitable, and even when we become profitable, we still have some catch up to do in terms of like paying down debt and things like that. So I would imagine that I won't be able to pull any money out of the business until 2025 at the earliest. And so having Zach there, making the brokerage commissions to support myself, and luckily my wife has a very stable job as well. But between that and the brokerage commissions coming in, that's how I've been able to survive. Otherwise, it just wouldn't have been possible at all.
Right. So Zach doesn't necessarily have he's not necessarily in the weeds here as far as the food hall is concerned. That's kind of more your deal.
Yeah, we have a management call every Friday. Zach's on the call most weeks. He comes down maybe once or twice a month, but he's not in the weeds very much here. And meanwhile, for a while, I was CC'd on all the brokerage emails, and I knew exactly what was going on the brokerage side. And as time has gone on, Zach's really doing that very independently, and I'm not in the weeds really at all with what he's doing on the brokerage side. So that is a lot of trust because it's a very, I think, unique partnership because Zach has sacrificed a ton in the short term, because he thinks that, as do I, that this will turn out very well and ultimately over time be more valuable in the long run. But I think a lot of people wouldn't have done that, or would have been like, all right, gotta be profitable now.
Right.
And to Zach's credit, he's never put any pressure in that respect. Has been really committed to, hey, this is a new business, this is new for all of us. This is the first food hall in Pueblo.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly how it's going to perform. We don't know exactly how sales are going to go or when it's going to be profitable. And Zach has been really willing to kind of be on that journey as a partnership. And
cool.
I think that will pay off well for us long term, but definitely he sacrificed a lot in the short term for us to get there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that takes a lot of trust to go into any type of business together. Seems like you guys have been partners for a while, or?
We started working together in 2017 at the end of the year. So yeah,
so you guys are
pretty 7 years.
Pretty steady then. You guys are definitely ready to have a baby and feel and I, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it was funny because we really did for a while it was kind of like we were dating, in a way, and in the business sense. I mean, it's from 2017 to 2019, I guess, we were partners in the sense that we were working together with clients, but we were both working for somebody else. If one of us had said, I don't want to work with you anymore, there would have been maybe in the short term, figuring out a few commissions, but it would have been very easy to break up at that point. And then when we got, put this under contract, it's kind of it's all right, well, now you are kind of married, or getting pregnant or whatever. And then because, then it's all right, when we close the financing, it's oh man, now we're signed personally together,
married
on debt. That's it. We're married. Even if one of us wanted to back out, that would be exposing us to enormous amounts of risk. And that's really a trust exercise because it's if this fails and the lenders come after us, they're coming after both of us.
Right.
They're not really focused on the nuance of, oh, well, Zach wasn't as actively involved in it as Nathan was, so we're going to just come after Nathan. No, we both signed, they're coming after both of us. And so we are really in it together and committed to that. And, it's who knows what the future will hold. We might do this forever, be partners forever, or who knows, but at least, in the short to medium term, we're very committed, and that we envision in the long term that we will be doing this, but just kind of know that life is strange, and who knows how things are going to develop.
And you guys do have some more future plans, right? So you just did fuel kitchens, and then I read something about fuel farms, right? Am I saying that right?
Totally. Well, and just to back up a little bit, or just maybe go a little bit big picture, our goal with Fuel and Iron is to make Pueblo the best place in Colorado to launch a food business. And we want to do that specifically by supporting 3 groups of entrepreneurs with incubator spaces. So the first is restaurateurs, and that's the goal of the food hall, to be the launch pad for entrepreneurial chefs. We opened Fuel Kitchens, which is in a former cold and dry storage warehouse and current warehouse, and really former beer distributor on the east side, 1745 North Erie, is Fuel Kitchen. So we master leased the building when it had, we walked into a great situation there because it already had huge walk-in freezer, walk-in cooler, loading dock, fenced yard, dry storage with the warehouse racking. Yeah, everything was there except for the kitchen. And there was even this corner of the building with office that was really underused that we're like, oh, this is kind of obviously where the kitchen should go. So that we leased it. The building was for sale. One of our brokerage clients purchased it and leased it to us. And that's been amazing, having that strong relationship with our landlord there for all of the bumps and twists and turns for that project. But we master leased the building in March of 2022 and just opened in March of 2024. So 2 years between taking possession of the building and being able to open the kitchen. And so that the cool part about Fuel Kitchens is that because it's a shared kitchen model, unlike the food hall where each chef has their own individual kitchen, we think we can fit up to 60 entrepreneurs as members. And so it's just a lot wider of a breadth that we could have. And we're focused on packaged products entrepreneurs. Jojo Sriracha, Jolene Collins runs the kitchen, and she also has the Sriracha business of our own, Red Camper jams, those type of packaged products. And our workhorses, we have a 40-gallon and a 60-gallon steam kettle there, so perfect for making big batches of jellies, sauces, soups, that sort of thing, salad dressings.
And is that like someone that wants to, like, who's the perfect candidate for the Fuel Kitchen? Like, is that for catering, or, because I know you're not serving food at the place, right? So how does that, help me understand that a little bit.
Totally. Well, there's a law in Colorado called the cottage food law, and it allows you to make a certain amount of product in your home and sell it commercially direct to consumer. So there are a lot of people that get started for one reason or another with the cottage food law, and they're making food in their homes. But there are a few limitations. Number one is you can only sell a certain amount of product. Number two, you can only sell direct to consumer. You can't sell wholesale. Yeah. And number three, I mean, it's your kitchen, so eventually, like, you just run out of space very quickly.
So the guy that comes in the bar with the green chili burritos at 1 a.m., he could only sell so many burritos.
Exactly. Now, I mean, who knows where, like, he might be making it. What happens a lot of times is, entrepreneurs are using another restaurant kitchen as their commissary, which is perfectly legal and compliant, but then, the space was built for the restaurant, so you're very limited on time, and you probably don't have much storage space either, so that's another limitation with the business. Whereas for us, you can use a kitchen 24/7. So if you were making, if you're making food in your own kitchen, and you could only make a certain amount because you're baking bread and it's just in your oven, or maybe you have one commercial oven, but then you can't add more because you don't have enough room on your electrical panel. I mean, all of these things happen in your home kitchen where the limiting factors start coming up very quickly. So now you could come to our kitchen. We have a full slate of equipment. You can use the kitchen 24/7, although you do have to reserve the bigger pieces of equipment, and then you can make your product. And eventually we want to have packaging equipment, like bottling, packaging equipment, so you can make your product, bottle it, store it, and then eventually we want to get into fulfillment. So if somebody, if you have a, if you have a pretzel company, and so you bake your pretzels, you bag your pretzels, you store your pretzels in the warehouse, and then you have direct to consumer, you get an order from natural grocers for your pretzels. Then you could let us know, hey, we've got this order. We could handle the packaging of the order. You'd provide the boxes, we would package it up, we would take it to natural grocers and fulfill that delivery, and then we would take a certain cut from the overall sale for the fulfillment and delivery side. We're not there day one, but that's the ultimate vision. Is a lot of entrepreneurs, they spend a lot of time making their product, which is obviously important, but then that's time that they're not selling their business. Right. So if we could either, the biggest dream might be also to get into co-packing, where we have a team of professionals who could actually make people's products as well. But at least if we can, even if they make it, but then we could handle the fulfillment and delivery of it, and they're not having to go in and pack orders. That's more time that they could spend.
That's all those challenges that that you could help out with, that someone's like, I don't even know where to start. Because a lot of the people like in the food industry, they're just passionate about food, right? They don't know nothing about like all this complicated stuff that you just mentioned. That's like, if you jump in, I'm sure you saw that a lot with your when you were doing brokerage. Like, a lot of people would jump in and then maybe fizzle out because they were focusing on, the craftsmanship, which is great. But you got to do all these other things too, like the logistics and the sales and the marketing and all these other things that come with it, right?
Totally. And the nice thing about an incubator space, whether it's the food hall or the commissary kitchen, is the cost of entry is lower. Because just like what we were talking about earlier, you're absolutely right. I mean, you don't know if you're going to like running a food business until you actually get into it. There are a lot of people who would be happier working for somebody else because, they just love making the product. They don't want to deal with everything else. But it's hard to know that conceptually until you actually try it. And so whether you're going in the food hall or whether you're going in the commissary kitchen, because we have the equipment, you're not signing a long-term lease with the personal guarantee. It's a lot easier for you if you decide, hey, it's not for me. Okay, then you can leave, and you'll have lost money. I mean, there's no way around it, but it won't be as dire as if you try to like build your own commercial kitchen or open your own restaurant.
Life-changing debt or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can surmount it. Hopefully, within a relatively short period of time, you could get your back on your feet, and then you kind of know, okay, now I have a much better sense of what I want to do, which is really valuable. You won't be like, oh man, will I regret this? You'll really know. And I think just from the psychological perspective, having that clarity is really nice. And then I also just wanted to mention, getting back to your actual question.
Hey man,
I'm prone to tangents, so forgive me.
But
we do have a farm under contract on the Mesa called the Williams Farm. The Williams family has owned and run the farm for 100 years, and the generation that has run it, there are 3 siblings that are surviving. They're in their 70s and 80s, and just for health reasons, they're not able to maintain it. And in addition to the farm, they also had a business called the Williams Seed Store, and they sold like 70 or so varieties of seeds to people all throughout the Mesa. So it was very well known, and they're just like incredible community builders. And so we have an entrepreneur who just opened in the food hall, Trailblazers Bakery and Cafe. Chelsea Rutz and Harry Rutz are the entrepreneurs. When the farm opens, which we hope will be next April, they'll leave the food hall and they'll reopen the seed store and run it as a seed store. In this commercial building, they'll take the other half of the building and sell locally made products. And then we also want to build out, there's a storage building behind the store, so we want to build out restrooms and a kitchen in there and have a farm to table restaurant. There's like a pad next to the seed store. There used to be another storefront that burned down, so I want to put some sort of like an all-weather tent or some sort of structure on that concrete pad, so it'll be a seasonal farm to table restaurant. And then in the farmyard, Chelsea has these bell tents, so it'll be like a glamping experience. And there's an original home on the farm that they call the summer kitchen, a 2-room home that'll be turned into a little cabin that somebody can stay in as well.
Like employees or like anyone?
So for the cabin will be like an Airbnb type of situation, like you'd rent it out for the night. But there's also, the family moved into the new house in 1936. And so there's the new house,
It's the newest house out there.
The newest house, in 1936, it was hot stuff. And it's beautiful house, 3 bedrooms. And so the idea there is that we'll have 4 farmers that will farm plots. In the farm itself, there's about 20 acres. And if they want to, they'll be able to stay in the house, just like rent the room by the bedroom. And it's so hard to know how many people of the 4 farmers, how many will want to stay there, but that's the idea, is that there will be farmer housing as well. And then the farmers will, same sort of thing. They'll be farming the land for a couple years. We'll start with 2-year and 3-year terms, but then we expect to do it 2-year terms on a rotating basis. So we have 2 farmers coming in and 2 leaving each year. And hopefully, because of the experience that they've had on the farm, and the operating history, it'll be easier for them to qualify for a loan to buy or lease their own piece of land.
Because they have to show as a broker, you could probably speak to, like, you need some type of history, right, of saying, I've done this, I got income coming, I've proven model, et cetera, before you qualify for a loan to go grab your own spot, right? And that's what kind of the concept is like, oh, you've been here for 2 years, all those things, you get qualified, checklist, then you could kind of go move on, right?
Totally. And generally 2 years is that magic number, where if you have over 2 years, then you can count that business history and use it to qualify for a loan. Whereas without that, you're really relying on your other sources of income. And so if you're if you have a ton of money in the bank, if you have a really good paying job, or your spouse has a really good paying job and the income is there, sure, you could qualify for a loan right off the bat, but that's not the situation that a lot of people are in. And so having that operating history is really critical. And it's both being able to check the box, but also just being able to have the confidence that you know what you're doing.
The proof of concept.
Exactly.
Yeah, because then you're good. Just want to see how we're doing on time. Oh, we're doing great on time. So a couple things here. Like, number one, like, so you have all this stuff going on right now, currently, right?
Yeah.
So you're juggling all this stuff. You got kids. You got all this stuff going on. How do you manage that? Like, how do you manage the time, like, between it all? And is there still time for personal time, or is it like not right now, maybe later type of thing? Like, how do you do that?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily great at it, but one thing that's helped is having a little bit of structure between. So I kind of live two separate lives. I have the Pueblo professional life, and I have the Denver home family life, because I live in Denver 6 out of 7 nights of the week generally. And so just being able to be pretty structured about what days I'm in Pueblo and what days I'm in Denver, I think that's definitely helped. So I come into Pueblo Monday, then leave Monday afternoon. I'm in Denver Tuesday, Wednesday come into Pueblo, stay Wednesday night, play some trivia with you, and then Thursday head back to Denver, stay in Denver routine. Friday. So the routine definitely helps. I mean, there's always a trade-off. I definitely miss out on some family time, spending a night a week.
And is
here.
it like dead set? Like, no, I am in Fuel and Iron on Wednesdays, I am in Denver on Saturdays,
unless there's a really compelling reason. I mean, I wouldn't say like, under no circumstances would I ever, we had Fuel Kitchen's grand opening on a Friday. I was there. I came to Pueblo on a Friday. I mean, like Sun, Soil, Water was the weekend before. Well, I came to that. So it's not like totally being like 100% dogmatic about it, but I generally try to keep that schedule.
And where's the passion for Pueblo come? Because as we're talking, you've mentioned that you continuously want to do these Pueblo themes in Denver, or make sure that you're supporting Pueblo in the businesses that you have in Pueblo. So, but you're not from Pueblo, right?
No, not from Pueblo. From very near to where I live in Denver.
Yeah. So where does that passion specifically for Pueblo come from?
Well, I have to give a shout out to Colorado Winds, Local 1876. That's the state employees union.
Okay.
That was my first job out of college. I worked for the state employees union in the Denver office. And every quarter or so, we would come to Pueblo because the other big office in Colorado Winds is in Pueblo, and they've moved. They've doubled the distance away from us here. They used to be on the block between B and C. Now they're between C and D. But they've been on the street the whole time. And so I would come to Union Avenue every quarter or so to do a training or workshop or staff meeting, and just fell in love with Pueblo just by coming to downtown. Yeah. Downtown Pueblo was never a place I went growing up. It wasn't really on my radar, but the minute I stepped foot here, I just fell in love. The buildings, the architecture, the people, the pace of life, the interconnectedness of the community, the food. I think the second time I came here was the Chili and Frijoles Festival.
Oh, yeah.
And just seeing
that's going to win you over every time.
100%. I mean, just really the chili's roasting. It's a 5 cents experience. I mean, it's just such a unique smell, sight, the sounds of the crackling. I mean, it's just super cool. I'd never seen it before. I was entranced by it. And so I always knew, no matter where my career took me, that if there was a way to stay connected in Pueblo, I would try to do it. And that was what was behind Solar Roast on the Road. There was no reason to brand it that other than trying to stay connected to Pueblo and to Solar Roast, and really to be able to evangelize Pueblo as we sold the coffee. And in between the coffee shop, or the coffee truck, and Fuel and Iron, I had invested in a couple of small, a triplex and a fourplex, as I was getting into real estate. And again, it wasn't, that was mainly just to stay connected with the community, to be able to come down and do showings and, spend time in Pueblo. And so when we were looking for a location for the food hall, I knew I wanted to have it in Pueblo, but Zach is now 100% bought in. He didn't have any connection to Pueblo at the time. So both because of that, and because we wanted to find, the most important thing was to find the best building, because we were putting everything into this, and there's huge consequences if it failed. So we didn't want to pick a building in Pueblo that we didn't think would work, or we weren't 100% confident in, just because it was in Pueblo. And we also didn't want to miss out on a great opportunity somewhere else because we were so committed to being in Pueblo. Yeah. But I just feel so fortunate that really this is the best building that we looked at by far, and it happens to be in a really important and super cool location in downtown Pueblo.
Was there other potential locations that were almost the spot? Where was the almost Fuel and Iron?
The first building we looked at in Pueblo was actually the Colorado building, and I love the idea. Do you know that one on 4th and Main?
I can't picture. It's a big one, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's in retrospect, it's about twice the square footage as this project, And there's an old theater in the building. So it's northwest corner, 4th and Main, massive theater. You might have been in it.
I used to, so they opened a bar in there a couple years back. It was only open for like a year and a half, 2 years, but I actually DJ'd in there.
Did you?
Yeah,
amazing.
It was popping.
That's super cool. And at the time I was like, oh man, a food hall in a theater, that would be super cool. And it could have been for sure, but that one, just in terms of, I mean, what the reason why we didn't move forward with that one is because the seller there wanted to find a buyer right away. And I don't think that strategy has worked because it's still, I believe still on the market. But there was too much risk to try to, even if we could have bought the building really quickly, just too much risk to do that without knowing how the development plan is going to come together. And the seller here, very fortunately, was incredibly patient with us. And gave us a total of 15 months to close.
And you got it during COVID?
Got it during COVID.
So that was like the best time, best interest rate. That's when I bought my house too. So I was like locked in that good interest rate.
Totally. I mean, COVID was really a mixed blessing because on one hand, we were first-time developers trying to do a food and beverage project when the food and beverage industry, people were really scared of it because of restaurants getting shut down. On the other hand, interest rates were great, and there was a lot of grant money, like stimulus money, and we ended up getting this grant called the Community Revitalization Grant through ARPA funds, and we also got some ARPA funds directly from the city, and that funded a lot of our equipment and tenant finish. And if that money, isn't around now, or is much lower extent.
Yeah, that's it's like a double-edged sword where it's like, all right, here's all the benefits, but then you also can't sell anything or have anything going on.
Totally.
So that's funny. Yeah. I always thought like during COVID, I was trying to explain it to people, but I never got through to very many people. I was like, dude, this is a great opportunity. The world stopped. It's on pause for the first time ever, and there's all this, low interest. They're giving out money. I mean, I was telling everyone I didn't get to do anything during that time because I was like not established enough. I just graduated college during that time, so I was like, oh, we could, someone could do something. Like, there's going to be some stuff going on. But anyways, you had mentioned your partner and how you wanted to open here. There's a lot of like stigma on Pueblo, right? Like especially like in the Denver area, I feel like there's always like, oh, Pueblo's a bad place, Pueblo's this, they don't have nothing going on. So what do you, like, number one, was Zach feeling that way a little bit? And number two, what do you say to people that, because I'm sure you hear about that when you're in Denver.
Oh, sure. I mean, absolutely. I feel like, there are people that, feel every sort of way. And there are definitely some people that have a negative impression of Pueblo. Some people have a positive one. There's a lot of people who are like, I know nothing about Pueblo.
Yeah.
But regardless, I mean, we really are hoping to show people and not just tell people. Like we could tell people all the time, no, actually Pueblo is amazing. But if we can plan a music festival and there's a band that's in the festival that somebody in Denver really wants to see, and they'll come down and check out the festival, we're very confident that as soon as somebody spends time on Union Avenue, they'll be hooked. As soon as they see the Riverwalk, they'll fall in love with Pueblo. It's really the hardest thing is just getting people off the highway, getting people down here for the first time. And so the more events that we can do in Union Avenue that increasingly have a wider reach, that we can get people interested from the Denver Springs area, the much bigger metro areas, I think that will do more than anything we could say or any sort of PR campaign ever could. And I don't know if you remember Grassroots Gravel from last year.
I don't.
Yeah, so that was it's an annual event. It's a gravel ride, and I had a friend from. So there was an event called Gravel Locos. There was an out-of-town organizer that planned that in 2022. He decided not to move forward with it in 2023. So this guy, Adam Davidson, who's local to Pueblo, said, no, we need this in the community. And that brought, I think he had something like 300 very serious gravel riders from all around. And the food hall was the expo in the parking lot and the after party at the food hall. The race started and ended on the Union Avenue Bridge. So now you have 300 people that came to downtown Pueblo and left with an incredibly positive experience, and hopefully they'll be back again for Grassroots Gravel, or just, hey, we're going to Albuquerque or wherever, let's stop in Pueblo for a day because we loved it. We had such a great experience. Yeah. I had a friend from high school that did the ride, and he's like, "Wow, it was super fun." I didn't realize. I think also because the mountains don't feel quite as close in Pueblo as they do further up the Front Range. I think people don't realize how great of outdoor recreation that Pueblo has. So my buddy was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe how beautiful it is."
It's a little different. It's like a little bit different terrain than what you would get, because we kind of have that it's a sub, I don't know, I don't remember geology class, but it's like a sub something of like the in-between of the prairies and the in-between of the mountains.
Yeah, and don't ask me about geology. It's
I don't even know if that's the right word, but something like that.
It's we've got Senator Hickenlooper is coming here to do like a forum with women-owned businesses next Thursday, so we can ask him about geology. Don't ask me anything about it. But anyway, I think in my perfect world, there would be an event every weekend in downtown Pueblo. Not that we wouldn't be the ones planning them all. Hopefully, just
anywhere.
Yeah, at this point, we really envision for now having 3 signature events. One is the Steel City Music Showcase coming up in a few weeks. One is the SoCo Art Ride coming up at the end of June. And then we have one called the Great Pueblo Skate that we're hoping to do in August. Those will be our events. Maybe we'll add a 4th, but that's going to tap us out. Unless we went really big and had an events company, which I don't think we're going to do. But it's we can be a better partner for events just because of the flexibility of the space.
Yeah.
We can be a better partner for events than we can, hosting all of them ourselves. So Grassroots Gravel is just a really great symbiotic relationship where, Adam did everything to plan the race, but he knew that we would be a great partner on the hospitality side, and we had the facilities between, the parking lot to do the expo and the building for the after party, and we did packet pickup in the loading dock. We just had the facilities to deliver on a great event, and so that's what I'm really hoping to grow in the year ahead, is just put in people's minds, hey, we want to be your partner. If you have an idea, we will do whatever we can to make it work, because we're not oracles. We have really no idea what will work and what won't work. So we love to just host events, and then if worst case scenario it fails, then we all take it on the chin and we move forward. But it's not going to kill us if an event fails, and very likely it will be successful, and it could grow into something huge. 30 years ago, the Chili Festival wasn't a behemoth, and look where it is today.
Yeah.
And we have that same mentality with our events of let's start small, let's grow them every year, and let's make them massive, hopefully, over time if we can. We're doing these salsa nights with this company called Latin Grooves every 3 months.
Yeah.
And same thing. We had no idea. I had danced. I am not. You do not want to see me dancing. It is not a pretty picture. But
I'm gonna have to submit you for the Pueblo dancing.
Right. Maybe I should just go all in. But there's such a huge salsa dancing community.
Yeah, for sure.
In Pueblo in the Springs. I had no idea.
And there's nowhere to go really in Pueblo, so.
Yeah, so it was a massive success, and we're having it again May 11th. When we released our lineup for a Steel City Music Showcase, we got some feedback, hey, there aren't enough EDM bands in the showcase. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. There's a huge need for EDM. Maybe let's do, let's do some of that after hours here. So, always kind of the wheels are turning, where if we have a good partner and we can plan something and use this space to the fullest to support somebody else's event and make it really successful, that'll be successful for us. And hopefully then, we'll just over time just draw more and more people to downtown. Yeah. And I think there's nothing that can change a place's perception than just seeing it. And
come down, experience it, talk to some people, have some food, and really get to experience everything.
Yeah, every place has a stigma for one reason or another. Yeah. Everybody's stigma is different, but every community has a stigma. And that stigma is rarely accurate, or maybe it's there's always like a kernel of truth, but it's just it's like you take a kernel of truth and you pop a bag of popcorn.
Go check it out yourself.
Yeah, just go check it out yourself, and the more that we can be a partner and a proponent of just bringing people to Pueblo, the stronger we'll be, and the stronger we hope that Pueblo will be over time.
Right. Right on. Well, we're coming up on the end of our time here. The last thing I would say is, what's one thing that you feel like you wish more people knew about that you feel like they don't?
I would just go back to, that Pueblo is just like how supportive the community is here, how, interconnected, interwoven. It's from my perspective, like launching a business here, we've had nothing but encouragement and support with very few exceptions. And so if you are an entrepreneur and you're looking to launch a business somewhere, I think it's easier to imagine that a bigger market would be better, just more resources.
Right.
But what that overlooks is just the amount of support and connectivity there is in this community, and we want to be a part of that. But I think I can't emphasize enough how amazing and supportive the people are here, how welcoming they are, how much everybody wants to reach out, make new friends, bring people into the fold. And so as I'm promoting the community or our projects, that's what it's really mostly about. It's like, yes, we have these great facilities, but like Jolene at Fuel Kitchens, her title is Director of Operations and Mentorship, because she's been in kitchens where everyone puts their heads down, you just work, you leave, you don't talk to anybody, it's just very utilitarian, just make your product. And we're really envisioning it differently, and this is really credit to her, where Fuel Kitchens will be a community. It'll be a place where entrepreneurs get to know each other, support each other, and that's just a microcosm of what Pueblo is as a whole. And that just having a support system to talk things over, to help provide resources, to point you in the right direction, that's just so critical. And I've never seen anywhere that has that like Pueblo, and that's why I'm so proud to be a part of the community here.
And you're so interwoven. I always thought you were from here. I always thought you were from here. Let me grab you something real quick. I'm gonna step over here real quick. So, the name of the podcast is Neighborhood Icons, right? Where we talk to iconic people and iconic places. And I felt like Phil and Iron, even though you're coming up on your 1 year anniversary, right? That you've just been like a staple in the community immediately, and just iconic. You're in the heart of downtown, and you've really brought some life back into it, I feel like. So, being on the podcast, you're actually the first official neighborhood icon.
Wow.
And it says Downtown Pueblo, Colorado, Phil and Iron Food Hall. So
thank you so much.
You're an official neighborhood icon of Downtown Pueblo.
Well, thank you. Very proud to be the first, and the first of many. Congratulations to you, and thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it, dude. Thanks for having me. That's it, guys. All right. Right on, dude.
Hey, thank you.
Right on. That was fun.